Good afternoon. Welcome again to Wing Commander Mike Bracken, the Operation Unified Protector Spokesman, who joins us from Naples. Wing Commander Bracken will give us an operational update in a few minutes. I think we've all seen the announcement by the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court that he's asking judges to issue arrest warrants for Muammar Gaddafi and 2 other senior members of the Libyan regime for crimes against humanity. Clearly, the court is an independent institution. It's now up to the judges to make the next step. But all the evidence that the prosecutor has gathered is a stark reminder of why NATO is conducting operations in Libya, to protect civilians against what the prosecutor described as crimes against humanity perpetrated by the Gaddafi regime. It's further proof of the international isolation of the regime, and that international isolation is growing by the day, and that the reign of terror must end immediately. It's hard to imagine that a genuine transition in Libya can take place while those responsible for widespread and systematic attacks against the civilian population remain in power. So what we see every day is that the pressure on the regime is mounting to fulfill the mandate of the United Nations Security Council. Within that mandate, NATO is keeping up the pressure, and we can see the results on the ground. We've loosened the regime's grip on Misrata, we've eased the humanitarian situation there, we have stopped the regime from retaking the country by force, and we have done so with the greatest care to minimize risks to civilians. Clearly, there is no purely military solution to the crisis in Libya. The contact group, which, as you know, includes NATO, has agreed that time's up for the Gaddafi regime, and it will continue applying a combination of military, political and military means to bring about a solution that respects the legitimate aspirations of the Libyan people. NATO will continue degrading Gaddafi's war machine until all the military goals set by NATO allies and contributing partners have been met, and those goals are, as you know, an end to all attacks against civilians, the return of all pro-Gaddafi forces to barracks and bases, and ensuring full and unhindered humanitarian access to all those who need it. We're all determined to keep up the pressure as long as Gaddafi continues attacking his own people. And that was the strong message from the meeting that the Secretary General had with President Obama and members of his national security team in Washington last Friday. They also discussed the mission in Afghanistan, where transition is on track, and prospects for the next NATO summit, which President Obama has offered to host next spring in the United States. The Secretary General's next international engagement is in Slovakia on Thursday, then in Italy on Friday. He will meet the leaders of both those countries on a range of security matters, but Libya will be at the top of the agenda. And with that, it's over to Wing Commander Mike Bracken in Naples for an update on recent operations. Mike.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Naples. I'm Wing Commander Mike Bracken, the spokesperson for Operation Unified Protector. This operation, carried out under United Nations Security Council Resolution 1970 and 1973, has now been underway for more than 6 weeks. We are achieving our objectives of reducing the Gaddafi regime's capacity to coordinate strikes against innocent civilians and diminishing its will to fight. Now let me tell you about our latest operations. In the past 4 days, we have engaged command and control nodes, particularly in Tripoli and military training facilities near Tripoli, surface-to-air missile launchers, ammunition storage facilities, armoured vehicles, rocket launchers, tanks and anti-aircraft guns. As you can see, a huge array of military targets. And I've just seen a United Kingdom press release giving some details of one of the NATO strikes last night. Video, please. This shows a Royal Air Force aircraft striking the military training facility on the outskirts of Tripoli. As we've demonstrated with every attack to date, NATO and our partners continue to do everything possible to minimize any harm to innocent people and to reduce the capacity of pro-Gaddafi forces to target the civilian population. We know that pro-Gaddafi forces are using innocent people as human shields. This tactic is completely reprehensible and unacceptable. We will continue to be forthright and proactive, but we will not be reckless. Just today, I've seen on open source reporting that thousands of telecom engineers have been used to become human shields to protect the communication infrastructure within Libya. Shifting to operations at sea. NATO and coalition warships, submarines, and maritime aircraft continue to enforce the arms embargo. Our assets have helped the much-needed flow of humanitarian aid to proceed unhindered through the embargoed area and arrive in Libyan ports, in particular into Misrata and Benghazi. Since the start of operations, we've been encouraging pro-Gaddafi forces to lay down their arms. Just recently, we have stepped up these activities by distributing leaflets and using an airborne radio system to tell Gaddafi forces to move away from any military equipment, including aircraft, vessels, vehicles, and infrastructure, anything to do with the facilities used to attack the civilian population, and to return to their barracks and homes. Just 2 days ago, NATO maritime forces thwarted another attack on Misrata by pro-Gaddafi forces in small boats. NATO detected 2 rigid-hull inflatable boats, known as RIBs. These were spotted heading from the western coastal areas towards Misrata. NATO forces reacted by sending warships and helicopters to identify and investigate the RIBs. As NATO forces made their approach, 1 RIB was observed stopped in the water as the second escaped at high speed back to the west. An explosive ordnance disposal team, known as an EOD team, from an Allied warship was deployed to inspect the abandoned RIB and discovered a large quantity of explosives, approximately 1 metric ton, and 2 human mannequins. In view of the obvious threat posed by the explosives, the decision was made to destroy the RIB at sea. This was carried out by Allied warships using naval gunfire. This can only be interpreted as a crude attempt to get mariners to come close to the RIB, thinking there might be people in distress, only then to set off the explosives with a potential devastating effect. 1 ton of explosives is a huge amount. This is nothing less than a floating booby trap meant to kill people or sink ships. This is the 3rd naval incident we've witnessed. You may recall the attempted mining of the approaches of Misrata on the 29th of April, and just last week, 2 RIBs attempted to slip past NATO forces and approach the port of Misrata, but they were also intercepted by our ships. This series of incidents is a serious change in tactics by the pro-Gaddafi forces and clearly demonstrates their intent to use their naval assets and naval knowledge to bring even more harm to innocent civilians. It also demonstrates that pro-Gaddafi forces have the will and desire to strike NATO vessels. In sum, NATO and the coalition continues to work every day using all measures available to protect the innocent civilian population of Libya. We have constantly adapted to the changing and dynamic situation, both on the ground and at sea. The tally of measurable successes made by the air campaign now stands at nearly 7,000 sorties, of which 2,700 have been strike sorties. Whilst these figures are impressive, what truly matters is that we are achieving our mission, and most importantly, stopping attacks on innocent civilians. The situation near Brega is stable. However, there is sporadic fighting occurring between pro- and anti-Gaddafi forces away from the city, where civilians are safely out of the way. Misrata is much safer than it was even a few days ago, with less shelling on the city. The western villages are holding on, and we continue to attack pro-Gaddafi forces that threaten civilian populations. Our campaign to stop the attacks and degrade the regime's ability to resupply its front line is working, and we continue with such strikes. We are now focused on attacking the regime's ability to command and control, as well as their ability to coordinate their attacks. We will continue to use all necessary measures as authorized in the United Nations legal mandate until all of the conditions set for a peaceful resolution are met. That concludes today's operational update, and Oana and I will be happy to take questions.